Florida Writer Podcast, a discussion about writing and other things. Brought to you by the Florida Writers Association. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Florida Writers Podcast. Today, I am lucky enough to have with me Rod Martinez. Rod, could you please give me your 60-second elevator pitch about who you are and what you write?
60 seconds. Let me see. I am a native-born Floridian, and I write middle-grade adventures and YA adventures, all in the speculative theme. I grew up on Star Trek and Twilight Zone, so you can pretty much figure that out. It's got a lot of weird, goofy stuff going on.
Weird, goofy stuff, and middle-grade students love that.
They do.
Yes, the weirder, the better, right?
Oh, yeah.
And how did you start writing?
Long story short, when I was in elementary school, I love telling this story. When I talk in schools all the time. When I was in elementary school, I created a comic book in class, and my teacher used it to show my friends what they could do if they applied themselves. I wasn't really popular that week. Then my senior year of high school English teacher challenged me to write a short story to prompt me from drawing comics in her class, because she hated me drawing comics all the time. I listened, I did a short story, and I've been doing it ever since. It's just been fun.
Well, that's fantastic. I want to ask you about comic reading versus regular reading. So as a creator of comic books, and I realize you might not do that now much, is the goal the same with the education, so to speak, of the reader?
It is not. I do have one comic book out, and the goal normally in comic book writing is just to entertain, just to bring them into another world and have them enjoy it and wait for the next issue.
So as a literature professor, my theory is I don't care what you're reading as long as you're reading. And so if it's a comic book, fantastic. It's words on paper.
Yeah.
That's where I come from. I do think it's interesting though, because graphic novels have become such a popular genre now.
Oh yeah. I got to say, I actually learned a lot of my vocabulary from comic books as a kid. I was using words that I saw in comic books that I didn't know what they meant, but I'd use them in that same context, and grown-ups would look at me like, what did he just say? I was like, oh, see, I know stuff, So, I mean, the fact that you had adults writing this stuff and kids are reading it, they were still learning, at least learning vocabulary.
I imagine that there's a lot of plot and things that go into writing a comic book as well.
Oh, yeah. And the hard thing with writing a comic book is you're basically writing a script for an artist to draw, so you really have to explain everything. It's different than sitting down writing a novel, because all the pictures happen in the reader's head.
And did you not draw the pictures? You were just writing the scripts?
Well, the one comic book I did now, I just did the script. I kind of sketched it for the artist, but they did the final drawing. But when I was younger, yeah, I did all the drawing.
I find that absolutely fascinating. And now you're writing short stories. Are you ever working on a novel?
No, actually, I write novels. I started with short stories, and then the novel approach was a challenge. I love telling kids this story too. I would say, hey guys, you ever watch The Goonies? They're like, yes. So like my son and I watched The Goonies. He was in 6th grade, and he said, you should write a story like that about me and my friends, but based here in Tampa. I thought, oh, a challenge. Okay. And that became my first published book. And I could not look back after that.
Well, that's really exciting. Is there a lot of your son's personality in the main character?
Yeah, the thing that kids didn't know is there's 4 kids in this book, and I call them like, Scooby-Doo meets the Goonies based in Tampa. And I was that parent that did all the school events, volunteered, took the friends places, and little did they know I was studying them for their parts in the book. They had no idea.
When the kids are in the back seat, we really learn a lot, don't we?
Oh yeah, I learned all. I'm just like just sitting there jotting stuff down. Oh, I love that. I'm going to use that one.
And are you working on anything new now?
Right now, I'm working on a middle grade adventure mystery about a little girl who's lost. She isn't lost from home. She's lost in time. And 4 siblings are hired by her grandmother to find her, but they kind of have no choice in the matter, because grandma's a witch and she's threatened a family member should they fail. So they have to find this girl.
Sounds like
Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I was thinking more like Grimm's fairy tales.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Twilight Zone might have a little Grimm's in there.
Yeah. I like to bring up, when I'm speaking to kids, I bring up Twilight Zone a lot. And because a lot of people ask me, where do you get these weird, when I explain stories, like, where do you get this weird stuff from? How do you think of this stuff? My mind is always thinking the way Rod Serling wrote. He just always wrote outside the box. It's my hero.
When you go into the schools and you work with children, do you give them writing prompts or anything?
I do. I actually purposely, like, depending where I am, like I'm going to be in Ohio, next month. And so what I do is that city, I will research something about that city that's historic, and then I'll use that as a prompt with them and tell them, hey, you guys know that house in the corner over there? Everybody thinks it's haunted. What if you went on a field trip and you fell into a mirror and you went back in time or something like that? The kids are like, ooh, there you go, kids. Somebody write that story because I want to read it. So I love pushing them like that.
That's a great way to engage their imagination
Yeah.
and to engage their creativity, because I mean, children today, so many of them are just told what to do and what to think.
Right.
And
right.
being able to get them out of that box is such an exciting thing that we can do.
Yeah. It's hard because I speak to a lot of kids that are in like writing classes or advanced English type things, and I'll say, you want to write something, but don't do that wizard with with a lightning bolt on his forehead. That's been done. The geeky teenager that turns into spider powers. No, that's been done. Create something all on your own. Look at your friends. Look at that weird thing that your friend does, and you can make a whole story out of that. I like to instill creativity because they have it.
That's a worthy endeavor, and thank you for doing that. I just, I'm glad that we have authors that are willing to share their craft with the next generation.
Yeah.
I would hate to think that, we don't raise any writers. I find that hard to believe. I think so many people believe they can write. The hardest part is actually sitting down to do it.
Right, getting started. Yeah. That's what I hear a lot from kids.
Yeah. Do you have a writing routine?
I do not have a routine. I just this is the hard one because I go to a lot of writers' conferences. I sit on panels and we kind of sit and fight about how we all write in routines. And are you a plotter or you're a pantser? Do you outline everything? Do you not? And I'm like, I can't outline to save my life. I come up with an idea, basic idea in my head, and then the characters take over. And that's how I write.
Okay, you have an idea. You have characters. Is there an end goal?
Yeah, to write the end. I mean, like the one I just told you I was writing. It's like I thought about it and I was like, okay, this girl is lost. She isn't just lost; she's lost in time. So her grandmother, who's a witch, sends 4 kids to go find her, and they better find her or else. And that's my story idea. Then I just start, and then the characters just they come to life and take over. I just sit there and let them do it. I love it.
I was going to suggest you start with 4 words. I guess it would be 5 words or 6. In the beginning, the end.
There you go. Now you got to figure out everything in the middle there.
I know it. I like to be a pantser too, but it gives me anxiety, so I can't.
Yeah.
I always end up with an outline, and then it's like this love-hate relationship with it. Once I have the outline, then it tends to fly. But until then, I fight it every step of the way. I think my inner muse is always arguing against the plotter.
Wow, you would have had fun at Tampa Bay Comic Con because I moderated a table and I had 4 authors there, and that's the question I love to ask: are you a plotter or you're a pantser? Let's talk. And I was like, I don't have boxing gloves. You guys are gonna have to just get along, And the audience loved it because you have one person saying, I can only plot. I can't even think of something like that, and then another person saying, I can't plot to save my life. And they're just fighting. Like, how do you do that? What are you, a Martian or something? So it's a fun thing.
As a true pantser, I think you might actually be the first pantser I've ever really met.
Wow.
As a pantser, how do you actually, because like you said, everyone kind of goes back to they have some sort of plot. I mean, they have some sort of, plot points written down somewhere. How do you keep everybody straight? How do you keep the eye color straight? How do you keep their hair color straight?
I'm sure every writer does this. At the very end of the document, I have a character list. And everything that gets added onto the story, I go back down there. It's like she has green eyes. She only wears red, and just, I put all that stuff down again. So I always know to go back, how old is she again? Oh, she's 14. Okay. And go back up there and change it. But yeah, it's kind of hard when you're pantsing. You just kind of writing off the seat of your pants. The story I'm writing right now, I had to change the name of a dog. So I'm like, wait, that wasn't his name. And I had to go back and change his name, So Rover, no, it's Bear. It's kind of an adventure because I tell writers a lot when I write like that, I feel like in the end, I feel like I'm actually putting a puzzle together because I have this story here. Now I have to make everything match. So it's part of the fun to me.
Basically your story is your outline and then you have to go back.
Yeah. But in the end, you go back and read it and go, wow, this guy's brilliant. How did he think of that? And I'm like, I didn't. It just kind of, I was good at puzzles growing up, so I can do this, you know. And that's all it is, putting a puzzle together.
What do you think makes a good story?
I think a complex protagonist with internal issues always makes for a good read. I learned that from Stan Lee. The big thing with people who know about comic books growing up, you had DC and Marvel, the two big ones, like Coke and Pepsi. And DC characters, if you think of Batman and Superman, these guys were all like perfect individuals and they could take care of everything. And then you go to Marvel and you have Spider-Man who has girlfriend problems, and Fantastic Four who are always fighting all the time, you know, and you always have these people that just have imperfect lives, but yet they're superheroes and you think they're supposed to know everything. So, you know, you give them a really bad scene in life and then the reader just kind of connects with that.
There is truth in that. I just don't think I could actually read a story that has perfect people in it. Although I have to tell you, I've been reading a lot of novels lately that I would love to put down because the characters, it's not that they're perfect, but they're like, the author has taken their flaws and exasperated them so much that it becomes boring.
Right. Compounded on them so much. Yeah.
Right. It's like, you know, it's like, I get the idea. The guy's a loser. You know, you don't need to keep telling me that he's a loser.
Right.
I understand. Let's give him something to redeem himself now.
Right. Well, it's like to tell the kids with Harry Potter, you know, at the beginning, you're just like, wow, this poor kid, he's living under the stairwell in his uncle's. He's just, oh, that poor kid. Then in the end, you're just like, I wish he was my brother, you know, because you just fall in love with him. And at first you're thinking like, this poor kid, he's not going to amount to anything, you know, and then he's Harry Potter, you know.
And what was your favorite work that you're most proud of?
That would be the book that my son prompted me. It's called The Juniors. Like I said, I call it Scooby and the Gang meets the Goonies, because, you know, after when I wrote it, I was, as I said before, I was only writing short stories. That became my first novel. I was like, wow, I wrote a novel, cool. And I thought, okay, put it away. And the people that read it kept saying, no, you got to do something with this. You can't just let that sit. This is a good book. I'm like, well, I'm not really thinking I'm going to do a writer. I don't want to be a writer. This is fun. And all of a sudden I said, okay. So I started sending out to publishers, and sure enough. So I'm like, wow, maybe I can do this. This is fun. After that, I could not stop writing. Literally, it's like my wife says it's an addiction. So.
Well, it sounds like you are a true writer if it has become an addiction. And you're a pantser. that novel is just living in there. It needs an outlet.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I've had people, I don't know if you've ever written using the Dragon Speak or anything.
I have not.
Okay, yeah. I've tried it once. I can't write that way. And they said, the way your mind works, that'd be easier for you. I'm like, nope, can't do it. I have to write. I have to type. So I don't get that one.
I will tell you, however, I'm a very fast typist. And so I pretty much type what I'm thinking anyway.
Right. Yeah, me too.
I think I can type like 100 words a minute. I don't know how many words I can speak a minute. So I'm pretty fast. Like I could really bang something out. And a lot of times I'm surprised about what gets put on the paper.
Yeah.
Because
that's a good feeling though, when you surprise yourself. That's kind of cool.
You go back like, wow, I wrote that, not bad. And what books have influenced you the most in your life?
That would be a mix, but the one book that I remember in grade school, and I was at a writers conference, and I was the only guy there, and I'm sitting with a bunch of, you know, women there. We're all talking, and we brought up this subject, and I said, well, there was this book when I was in elementary school called The King and His Friends, or The King and Some Friends, and I couldn't remember the name of the title. And I said, I've been trying to look for that book just to get a copy. And one of the girls pulled out her phone while we're talking, and she says, oh, this one? I'm like, oh my God, give me the phone. You know, and I ended up ordering the book, and it's like, wow, it was called The King and His Six Friends. And I was probably in second or third grade, but it was before I discovered comic books. And it was a story of a prince he was in love with this princess, but he couldn't get to her kingdom. He needed help. And on the way, it was kind of like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. On the way there, he kept finding different guys with special powers that would help him get there. And that just kind of gave me this whole concept of, because most of my middle grade books are about, you know, a group of kids that either have some kind of special gift or something's going on and they need each other to make this work. They have to work as a unit. And that book is what started that. So I'm glad I have a copy now in my library. The author's probably dead, but I mean, it's a great book. That, and of course, On Writing by Stephen King. It's the Bible. So I think every writer has that one though.
I do. It's marked up pretty heavily.
Yeah. I end up giving mine away every once in a while too. I have to get another one.
Well, mine's so marked up. I don't really want to give it away because it's become special. Except I don't really flip through it. I remembered enough of what always appealed to me.
Yeah.
But I ought to pull it back out and read it again. Sounds like a
It's a
nice
great book.
endeavor.
Yeah.
Do you have any other writing books that you've leaned towards?
I have not. I've gotten like a lot of them, the Writer's Digest books and all that stuff. I kind of keep them all on my shelf, but I don't go back to them a lot. One of the ones that I do, because when I try to do some mysteries, there's a book. Don't remember the title, and you probably have heard of this, but there's a series of books where one that tells you what kind of poisons you can have in your story, or create them, or forensics, or how to kill someone. You wouldn't want someone coming in to see this stuff, but all these different, ideas of showing you like, this is the kind of poison that would do this, so that's a good thing to have when you're trying to write up weird stuff like that.
Right. That's the adage that writers have is don't look at my computer memory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't look at my Google search bar.
Yeah.
If I'm in jail, you just tell them I'm a writer.
I'm a writer. Just leave it alone. I'm a writer. Comic books, of course, also were the big thing with me growing up. I could not put them down, and the adventure that they take you to an adventure, and you become engulfed in that world, just like, you watch a movie. I tell the kids all the time, so you're in a movie, there's no, and I tell them, I'm sorry, but there's no such person as Iron Man, right? No, it's like, no, it doesn't exist. But when you're watching that movie, you feel like you're right there, right? That's what the writer did. They brought you into their world. That's what you got to do. So, and I love telling them that, because bring the reader into your world. All
right, Rod, okay. This has been absolutely wonderful. How are people going to get in touch with you?
I have a webpage, rodmartinez.us, as in United States, or on Facebook, facebook.com/author Rod Martinez, one word, author Rod Martinez, Facebook. Yeah, connect with me there, and you'll see like my books and all kinds of stuff where I'm going and all that kind of fun stuff. And Goodreads, of course.
Are you ready to switch to our rapid fire questions?
Oh, no. Okay, I can do this.
You can do this. What has been your most exotic vacation?
Wow. My most exotic vacation would probably be, I don't know if it's exotic. I don't have an exotic one, but the most fun one was I was in San Diego at the beginning of this year to go to a conference, and normally I go to these by myself, but I take my son and my wife. So we got to see what I told her, I said, we have to see the sunset on the Pacific. It's a must. You have to see. She was like, I don't get it. You have to see it. We live over here on the Atlantic. We have to see it on the Pacific. And that was a big deal for us. So that was pretty nice. And my son was with us, so that was good. That's as exotic as I get.
Whenever I'm around a new body of water, I insist on putting my toes into it, even if it's about 45 degrees or something. I'm like, I have to put my feet in the water.
Yeah.
My husband's always like, I'll wait in the car. You can go down.
We writers, we're just weird people.
Oh, yes. Do you have any pets?
I have no pets. I can't because my wife is allergic to pet hair. So
my dad was allergic to cats, so I've never had a cat, but I do have dogs.
Yeah, there's a lot of ducks in our neighborhood. We just like throw food at the ducks and stuff.
Well, that's equivalent. It's nice. The ducks are nice.
Yeah.
And have you ever ridden in a helicopter?
I have never ridden in a helicopter. That is one of my bucket list things there. That would be fun, I think. Yeah.
It would be. It would be. I've been in one over the Hoover Dam, but I was about 14 and I don't really remember it.
Oh, wow. I've been in many planes, but never on a helicopter. That'd be cool. I'm going to have to work on that one.
There you go. You can write it in your next book, and maybe you get someone to sponsor you so that you can get flown around and imagine what the kids are going to do.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, Rod, once again, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks. That was fun.
This is fun. This has been another edition of the Florida Writer Podcast. Allison out. Rod Martinez is the author of middle grade and young adult speculative, mystery, adventure, and paranormal novels. Rod believes writing stories is like sitting in the front of a stage and watching the performers. He has the basic idea of the storyline, but the characters take over and he becomes their tool. Yes, he is a serious pantser. Rod also is a fervent believer in sparking the writing bug in children. He does book talks every year in elementary and middle schools to keep the fires burning for future writers. For more information about Rod Martinez, visit him on the web at rodmartinez.com. or author Rod Martinez on Facebook. You have been listening to another edition of the Florida Writers Podcast. For more information about the Florida Writers Association, visit us on the web at floridawriters.net.